Hi, this is Lindsay Edmonds at passionatehomemaking.com, and I am here today to share with you a little bit about making homemade dill pickles. I love to make my own because they're scrumptious, delicious, and therefore I can use local, preferably organic ingredients at the same time. I will be showing you how to do that today with 25 pounds of organic pickling cucumbers. So welcome to my kitchen, and here we go. So the first step is to soak your cucumbers in a bath. You can do this in the sink. Since I'm doing such a large quantity, I'm soaking them in my bathtub, my nice clean bathtub, of course. And I've got 25 pounds, like I said, various sizes here. I've taken out a lot of small ones already for my first batch. But I soak that with cold water and ice for 2 to 4 hours roughly. No more than 8 is the recommendation. Second step is to make your brine. I have it in a large ceramic container because apparently metal can affect the color of it, which make it hard to determine whether if your cucumbers spoil later on after canning. So ceramic is best. I've got 12 cups of filtered warm water or cold, water. Obviously, it's going to brought to a boil with 4 cups of white vinegar, and you can do a half and half with apple cider vinegar if you desire. And then I've got 2/3 cup of pickling salt in there, bringing that to a boil for my first batch. And then over here, I've got all my fresh dill, scrumptious. Here's my first batch of all the tiny, smaller pickles. I've got fresh garlic here, and that I'm putting a whole clove. And then here's my ingredients: apple cider vinegar, white vinegar, canning pickling salt. And I also like to use a little pickling spice because that gives it a whole ton of flavor. So to start off, we've washed our jars in hot water. Actually, I put them through the dishwasher to make it easy. And then I started off by putting 1 clove of garlic in the bottom with a whole head of dill. Yeah, so I've got this fresh dill here, see? So I just cut off a chunk of that, put it in the bottom of my pickles, and then I filled it with, I'm still in the process of filling it with pickles. And as you can see, I am actually cutting off a little bit of each end. Ideally just a blossoming end, but I'm never quite sure which one it is unless it actually has a little stem left on it. So I cut off both sides because this will assure that they will stay firm and crisp. I noticed that significantly last year by cutting that off and soaking them in the water. Those are 2 of the basic tips towards preventing mushy pickles. So basically I'm going to fill the rest of my jar after cutting off the ends. You want to help me, Kara? So just a little bit. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. It's a little hard to do while holding the camera. Oh, this is weird. And then putting that in. And like I said, I'm just going to continue doing that until full, and I'll come back when I show you. So here's our jar full of pickles that have lost their ends. I think there's one extra there. A little too many. Because I want to leave a space to add another head of garlic. That's my daughter chopped up a little bit. And a chunk of dill. Put in there like so. And then I like to put the pickling sauce, or pickling spice, which is, of course, optional, but it definitely seemed to give it a lot of really good flavor last year. And I don't know if you can find good organic pickling spice or not. Excuse me, hold on. Okay, go ahead and pour the 1/4 teaspoon to 1/2 teaspoon, depending on how flavorful you want them. Yep. Sprinkle that in there. I might do even a 1/2 teaspoon. Okay, so there's my collection of pickles. I'm going to bring it over here to my brine. Take the lid off my boiling brine. And then I'm going to carefully fill this up. Till all the pickles in there are covered. I have to take 1 or 2 of these out. I'm not sure. Let's see how it goes here. Silly Titus. What are you doing, bud? My little helpers here in the kitchen with me like to be right where the action is. Take a little bit of that out till it's right at the rim. Okay, let's move that away, bud. I don't want you to hurt yourself. Okay, so it's filled. The pickles are covered for the most part. A little bit. Don't touch, it's very hot. It's hot. Okay, and then basically I'm going to take a lid from here, which is hot water. I'm crazy, I know, because I just lifted it out with my finger. Clean the edge of the rim. Put the lid on. Take one of my lids, rings, I should say. Seal it. And I go the easy way of just inverting it in a little pan of water. So here is my shallow pan of water covering 4 jars of pickles that are inverted, and the boiling water is covering, if you can see that, it's up above the rim, so it's a few inches up the side of the jar actually, but not very much more over the actual ring. So I basically set my timer for 5 minutes. Let those boil, and when they're done, the 5 minutes, roughly, it might be a little more depending on the boiling temperature of the water, make sure it's boiling to actually seal it. Then I'll just take them out, keep them inverted, cover them with a towel overnight, and that has worked successfully for me. Some may not prefer this method just because, you know, they say it's not as safe as fully boiling it in water. Definitely read up, learn learn the pros and cons. I never had any problem this last year. All my jars sealed perfectly, and they all, none of them, you know, went bad by any means, and they all turned out delicious, because I believe part of the reason for the, you know, soft pickles may be the whole boiling process, and this keeps them as fresh and raw as possible, which I prefer. So that's that step, and then I will yeah, and then in the morning I'll show you them all inverted, and then you want to keep it stored for about 8 weeks roughly. I always eat them a little sooner, but you test them and see how they are, and store in the fridge for the duration of their use. Back here a minute and review the larger pickles. I forgot to mention that you may get a wide assortment of sizes. In fact, these ones here are yeah, probably a good 5-6 inches long. That just happens, especially when you get local organic. They are not perfectly sized like you might find at the grocery store, where they discard all the odd ones. But again, these have been soaking with the smaller ones. I packed all the smaller ones in one jars, well, in multiple jars, but if they were small enough, I could fit a ton in each jar. But these larger ones will limit me to only 3 or 4 per jar. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut them. And again, these are nice and firm, tough. They've been soaking for a couple hours. That's the best pickle. The more knotty they are, the more crispy results you'll get. So even though these are large, they will still make really good cucumbers. So basically over here is what I did is I sliced them lengthwise, because I like that length for hamburgers and sandwiches and stuff. But you can also slice them the other way. But when you're trying to pack it, I lay it on its side like this. That way I can actually fit the most in a jar, and they fit more evenly than if I had it standing up and tried to stuff them all in. So this way works really good. I threw the 1 clove of garlic and a head of dill at the bottom, start slicing, and then I can fit multiple, and I still have more room there. I'll probably put a couple more in there before putting another clove of garlic, another head of dill, and then covering with brine. So that's how you work with the bigger pickles. You can also quarter them if you like. Welcome back. This is the next day. The pickles have completely cooled, so I have turned them correct side up, and the results are 27 quarts of pickles, and they have all sealed properly with the exception of 1 because I inverted it too soon. It wasn't cooled enough. And I just stuck that in the fridge, and it can sit for the 8-week duration that they need to pickle for before opening. So yeah, that's a simple solution if you do have one that does not seal. But I've got all shapes and sizes, from small to sliced large ones, with all the yummy spices and such. And that was from the 25 pounds that I purchased, and a recipe of 3.5 times the brine recipe. So I made 3.5 batches of the brine to complete this many quarts, and I had a little bit extra, so it probably was more like 3 1/4 recipes. of the brine, and each recipe makes approximately 6 to 7. For me, it was about 7 quarts per recipe. So that's kind of gives you an idea. If you want to make a smaller quantity, you could do that very easily. So, but these do make delicious gifts, especially if you have a family member or friend that loves pickles, and so you can always use them up. So I made a smaller batch last year, and we definitely ate them before the next batch. It's been a month or two since we consumed them all. So that's why I wanted to make a little bit more for our family this year, even though we only have 4 in our family. We definitely enjoy them immensely, and it does make a good nutritious snack for the kids if they like pickles, and mine do. So that works really nicely. So yeah, thanks for joining me for this quick and basic tutorial. I hope it was helpful for you. If you want the full complete recipe, you can find a link at my site, passionatehomemaking.com. Search homemade dill pickles. Thank you so much, and enjoy your pickling. Bye.